Everybody, CW here, Card Wolf, because I am always on the hunt for great cards. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Anything Can Happen Day here on the channel. We do that every Thursday, and things happen. And today, the thing that is happening is I'm going to show you a part of my collection that I've never really shown anybody before. This is a part of my collection that I'm really very fond of. I'm very attached to, and it's a completely worthless part of my collection, to be quite honest with you. The cards that I'm going to show you today are, for most of you, trash. That is the truth. Most of you will look at these cards and be like, Card Wolf, what is wrong with you? Why do you have these cards? This is stuff that belongs in the garbage. And I understand that. I understand why people think that, and I understand that the cards I'm going to show you are never really going to be valuable cards. I totally get that. But I've collected these for decades. I started collecting these when I first got into the hobby in the 1970s, and I've collected them ever since. It's been kind of an on-off thing. I mean, sometimes I'm very interested in getting more of these, and other times I kind of just don't think about it. But I felt it was time to go ahead and share these with you. All the cards you're going to see today, and this isn't all of the ones that I have, but this is one of the boxes of these that I have. These are all miscuts. These are all cards that are very obvious miscuts, not cards that are just, in most cases they're not a little bit miscut, but they're miscut enough that you can see another card on them. So, you see, for instance, here's a team card from 1967. It's the Tigers. You can see it's cut off on this side, and then you see part of the next card on there of Jim Northrup. And on the back you can see same thing. And I just love these cards. I think they're I don't know what first drew me to them, but I have a lot of them. I'm just going to start going through these and let you see some of the cards that I have, and you kind of, just check them out and see what you think. And I'm just going to talk about them a little bit, and you'll see a lot of, as I go through here, you're going to see a lot of different years. Most of these are probably from the 70s, because that just happened to be when I was really, looking for these the most. And then in the 80s, I continued to look for them a lot, and it seemed like most of the cards I could find then were from the 70s. You're also going to see that there are a lot of Hall of Famers and stars in here, and that's not because I've set out specifically to get miscuts of Hall of Famers or anything. It's just because those seem to be the ones that people keep, because most of these cards, if somebody pulls a card, that looks like that out of a pack, unless it's a Hall of Famer or a star, most people just throw it in the trash. Like, you get that Mike Schmidt. If it were any other player and you pulled it out of a pack, you would think, that card's a disaster. I'm going to, trash that. And that's what most people did with these cards, which is kind of the fun for me. I mean, here are a bunch of Hall of Famers right in a row here from 1977. We got Raleigh Fingers and Joe Morgan, and we got a Jack Clark rookie card. I like this one because it looks like Stan Thomas is playing for the Rangers, because the entire team name is cut off from the top there. I love it when cards do that, when they're miscuts. And I don't know, I find these cards fascinating. I really do. I like them so much. There's a more recent one of George Brett there, and you can see the beginning of the next card on the side. Fergie Jenkins, this one's shoved all the way down to the bottom and into the corner. Gorman Thomas is, this is what's called, I don't know how many of you have seen cards like this, but it's what's considered, by most collectors, they talk about this as being diamond cut. And what that means is, you can see the rectangular box is kind of on kind of a diagonal, I guess you could say. It's a little more visible on the back. I'll show you the back there, and you can kind of maybe see it a little bit better. And that's what's called a diamond cut, and it's kind of almost, if you skew the card a little bit so that it's more on that angle, you can see why people call it that. And that's a really good example of that kind of miscut. And you see these kind of cards every now and then, but most of the ones that I collect and the ones that I like to keep are cards that are just really, really miscut. These that I'm showing you now are not particularly bad. They're mostly diamond cuts there. That Jack Morris has cut a little on the side, but the ones that I like the most are nice Ted Williams miscut there. And I know some of you are just cringing as I go through these, thinking, look at this, Ted Williams, Nolan Ryan, 1976. Why did you keep these? What is wrong with you, Card Wolf? Why do you like these? But I just do. Jim Rice, second year card there, a terrible miscut on that. This is a great one, Larry Boa, and you can see a good portion of the next card there. That is one that I like a lot. 1975, I even have some 1975 minis, as you can see here. These are, I don't know, if you don't know vintage, maybe you don't know that in 1975 they did a regular size set, and then as you can see they did minis as well, and these are basically the same set, just miniature versions of these cards. And there's a Tom Seaver. These are, I just love them. I just think they're so great. Put those over there. I got a lot of 1975 ones. I opened a lot of 1975, of course, but it just seems like a lot of them appeared. I don't really know why. They just kind of, some years you just kind of see a whole lot of these, and other years you don't see that many, and I don't really know why that is. I've never seen anybody do any kind of like a study on this, and as far as I know, there aren't too many people who collect miscuts at the at the level that I've been collecting them for as long as I have. I think most people, feel the way that probably most of you feel, which is that these are cards that probably should go in the trash, quite honestly. But I don't feel that way, and I've never, ever felt that way. And whenever I used to go to card shows back in the day, I would, there's a nice Tony Gwynn, look at that one. That is a very sweet miscut there. You don't see 89 Donruss, really. I haven't found very many miscuts of 89 Donruss, and nice to find a Hall of Famer one. Kind of cool to see that. Keith Hernandez, and this is a neat one too, because you can see how on the cards, the next card is sort of upside down. So on the sheet, these cards are all kind of swapped upside down as you go down the sheet. And that's just how 1986 cards were printed, whereas most other cards, they were printed sort of all right side up all the way down the sheet, as you can see here with these from 1982. And so 86 is sort of unique for that reason, and it's why when you get a miscut, you have like sort of an upside down card. And I like 86 miscuts a lot. I think they're really fun, and I wish I had more of them. I'll show you some more older ones here. Just again, I'm just going through some of these so you can kind of see again. I have a couple of boxes of these that I've collected over the years, and I just love them. I just think they're so neat. One of the things I really like about these, and this isn't I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything here. I know that these aren't worth very much, and I know that they're never going to probably be, Hank Aaron Special. Hank Aaron Specials are actually cards that are notorious for being miscut. This is one of these Hank Aaron Special cards are probably some of the most common cards that I see really bad miscuts of. I don't know why that is. I assume it was this sort of card and this little series of cards they did in 1974 were positioned on the sheet in such a way that they were just miscut a lot. And that happened with many cards, especially in the early to mid 70s. You would see that. And so these Hank Aaron Specials, they were, I think they ran from 1 to 7 or something like that. And they're just I have several of these. I think I have some more in one of the stacks over here. I'll show you. But they are very, very common miscuts. You see those a lot. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to say about these is I like these so much. I thought they were so neat when I first started seeing them, out there. And I always want to try to fit these together, but I never have really found any that just fit together perfectly like that. But I thought they were so neat when I found them out in the world, and I just started collecting them. I thought these are so cool. And over the years, I've started to realize that one of the things that really appeals to me about these cards, in the hobby today, we have a lot of cards that you get out of packs that are numbered. They're numbered by the manufacturer as being like 1 out of 25 or 1 out of 50 or something like that. And of course, the most desirable cards that we want to get are the manufacturer numbered 1 of 1s. And those are great. I have nothing against those. I'm not saying I don't like them. I like them a lot. But the cards that I'm holding, these are true 1 of 1s. These were not intentionally manufactured to be 1 of 1s. These were mistakes that somehow found their way into packs over the years. And I have never seen a duplicate one of these that is like an exact duplicate of the other. I mean, these are true 1 of 1s. You're not going to find a 1972 Rich Morales duplicate of that card. It's just not out there. And here's a nice Louis Tion from 71. That's a beauty too. These are just they're just not out there. Every one of these is just by its very nature of being a miscut and a terrible error that should never have been put into packs. Every single one of these is a 1 of 1. And I love it for that. I had never really thought of that until there's a nice Clay Carroll. Man, just when you think you've seen the worst photos on baseball cards of Clay Carroll, there's another one. It's remarkable. I don't know. The guy is whatever the opposite of photogenic is. That's Clay Carroll. No offense to Clay Carroll, but that's a diamond cut too. I was telling you about that before. There's another one. But yeah, these. I mean, for me, these are real one of ones. These are the genuine article when it comes to one of ones, and I just think they're fascinating. Another great thing about these, for me personally, is that of all the things I have in my collection, these cards are the ones that my son likes best. He will come in here if I have one of these boxes out and I'm going through it and I'm just kind of looking at them, or I leave it out on my table here. If he sees these out, he will sit down and he will look at these for like an hour and he will just laugh to himself, and he thinks these are the funnest cards. He thinks, he'll just be like, whoa, what happened to that card? And wow, why does it look that way? And we'll just talk about them. Joe Torre there. And my son thinks these are the absolute best cards in the world. And so for that reason alone, I am delighted that I have collected these for so many years and that I've kept them. And that even though I know, like I said at the very beginning of this, they're not worth anything. We're back into the 60s here. This is some 68s we went through. These are 1966. And, this has been an issue that, card manufacturers have had for years and years and years. And it's really only been somewhat recently that they've kind of just about eliminated this issue from card manufacturing. You still see them every now and then, but you don't see them that often. I pulled kind of a miscut out of a Panini pack last year, and I really struggled with whether I wanted to keep it or whether I wanted to try to mail it into Panini and see if they would send some cards back to me. And I did end up mailing it in, mainly because I didn't really like the miscut. It was on one of their sort of mosaic or chromey type cards, and you couldn't really tell from the front that it was much of a miscut. On the back you could see really easily because the borders of the back of the cards were a little more distinctive, but on the front it was just sort of this silver foil everywhere. It was very hard to tell that it was miscut, so I ended up sending that in, and I'm glad I did. They sent me back some very nice cards. If you watch the channel, you probably saw that episode. But and we get back to some pretty late cards here. These are 1961 cards here. And then there's a 62, and that's probably the oldest one. I think the oldest baseball card that I have that is a miscut is this Frank Bauman from 1958. You can see the next card on the back, and on the front you can see the border of it coming through there. So, it just, sorry I bumped the camera there. Just really like these cards, and these are a bunch of team cards, actually. I kind of sort these in a lot of different ways over the years, and I'm not really sure that there's a good way. And I had these for a while. I had them in binders, and I had different configurations, but this is just raw and loose like this for me is really the best way for me to appreciate and enjoy these cards. For whatever reason, they just, the tactile sensation of holding this card that is just so clearly wrong in some way. You look at this 77 Mini Minoso, and these I separated out for you to see. All of these cards, you can see the borders, the cutting borders of the cards. This is as far as they were supposed to allow the card to be cut, but you get that dotted line there. And on some of these cards, they have dotted lines, as you can see. Others have this sort of star border here, this line of stars. And Topps has done this for years, these stars and the dotted lines. And then on a couple of these, you can see, I'm going to bring this up close to the camera. This is a 73 Mike Cuellar. It says side B there. And then this is another one of those Aaron specials. This also says side B right there. And I don't know what that is in reference to, because, they have a normal back. I mean, you can see this is cut so far that you get actually a white border here next to the black border, which is pretty unusual to find that. So that makes this card pretty special to me. I'm glad I have it, certainly. And I don't know what that side B business is all about, quite honestly. I've never known what that is. And of course, this doesn't just happen in baseball cards. It happens in other sports as well. I do have some football and hockey cards I pulled out that I thought I'd show you as well, just as examples. I'm much more prone to get baseball cards as miscuts. I don't really go after football or hockey cards, but I do have some. There's a Jan Stenerud there. And these are much like the 1975 Topps baseball, you can kind of try to fit these together and see if you can get them to go in kind of a strip there. And then we got some very old, these are 69-70 hockey cards, and these aren't terrible miscuts. I mean, you can see some of the next card, which is pretty cool. There's a Charlie Burns there. It looks like he's been hit in the head by a hockey puck a few too many times on that card, in my opinion. But there you have it. And and there's Camille Henry. That's a very nice card there. But again, most people would be like, "Oh, that's junk. Why would anybody want to keep that? It's a terrible miscut and it's crooked and all of that stuff." But I think they're beautiful. I think they're awesome. It's probably the oldest one I have, though. I do have miscuts of some tobacco cards. I don't have any miscuts of any sports tobacco cards, but I do have miscuts of some old non-sport tobacco cards, and those are interesting in their own right. This is a 55 Bowman football, and this isn't much of a miscut. You can just kind of barely see the border of the next card there, but it is probably one of the oldest sports card miscuts that I have. And then these are some of the best ones for me. I have a little stack of these that I feel are some of the very best ones that I have, though. Those of you who are still watching this and haven't turned this off, what I mean by best ones is really worst ones, like the most egregious miscuts. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. This is an OPG one, actually. I think this is the only OPG miscut that I have. It's a 79, and you can see that's a pretty bad one. That's or a pretty good one, in my opinion. That's a really good one. Randy Johnson looks positively annoyed that his card has been so badly miscut. I think it's awesome. Love that one. You can see the border goes all the way down past the orange there. 1982 Fleer of Bruce Benedict there. Pretty nice one there. Rich Dotson, you can see that's a really good diamond cut there, to the point where the card is actually not even a full... It's actually over the border of what a full rectangle would be. Some of these corners stick out. It's pretty unusual to find one like that actually made its way to a pack, because it would have distorted the size of the pack. So you really don't see those all that often. So that's a nice one. 76 Hank Aaron, and that one has just a tremendously tall border there. I mean, that stretches pretty far there. I like that one. A lot of these are just cards that have really, really thick borders. There's a 1970 Andy Etchebarren, nice Orioles one there, and there's another 1970 that is also a really, really beautiful miscut. And here's a beautiful 1971. I mean, look at that. That's just awesome. Love that. That is a really significant miscut there. This is one that I've always liked quite a lot. I've had this for a little while. It looks like it's a Ron Santo card. It really does. And it looks like he's playing for the Cubs, but it's actually not. It's Joe Horner playing for the Phillies, but because of the perfect kind of cut there, it's cut off the top where you would normally have the team and the name of the player, and instead you get the Ron Santo one from the next card in the strip. Love that card. It's just a very confusing card. I think that is so great. John Strohmeyer, another diamond cut there. You can see what's going on there. Here's some pretty good miscuts of 1973. George Mitterwald there. You can see he's pretty delighted to be on that miscut. That's a really nice one there. I like this one a lot because you actually get 3 cards on this. You get him, you get the next card here. You also get a little bit of the border of this card over here. So you're actually getting 3 examples of the card, and you see that on the front too. If we could have gotten just a little bit of that 4th one, that would be just about perfect. Getting 4 cards on a miscut is really, that's like the crown jewel. That's what, for me anyway, that's how I've always felt about it. And then these are 2 of the best ones that I have as far as like getting the most out of that second card. This one's probably about, I don't know, maybe a third of the second card, the Kekich card there. And then this Joe Rudy one, I mean, it's not quite 50-50, but it sure is close. I mean, you look at that, that's probably about 55-45. So I love that one. Just a card where you get actual 50-50, or you get 4 of this, the attached cards on there. That would be the dream. I've got one that's pretty close to that. This is the only one that I have that I think counts as having 4 distinct and clear cards on there. This is Carl Noonan, and this is a football card, obviously. And you can see you got the next card there. It's pretty clear the pink color field bleeds over onto the next card. Then you flip it over and you can really see 4 cards in evidence here, the Noonan, and then up here, over here, and then the football part of the number for that corner card, that would be up there. So this is really the only one where I have pretty clear evidence of 4 distinct cards on there. So that's pretty cool for me anyway. And then I'm going to show you these. I picked these up too. These are actually even harder to find than miscuts. They're definitely out there. You know, you can find these kinds of cards, but they're harder to find than miscuts. They're a little more rare and also pretty cool. So you look at this Bobby Bryant card. There's not a thing wrong with that. Why do I have that? That Reggie Jackson one, same way. These rookie prospects ones, you know, why do I have these? These are clearly not miscuts. Well, we flip them over. 3 of these are blanks. You see, there's nothing on the backs of those. Same for the football card there. And then the Reggie Jackson one is perfectly centered on the front. You look at that and there's really nothing wrong with that. But you flip it over to the back is off center, even though the front is centered. That is really tough to find. You do not see that very often at all in my experience. I only have a few of those. Those are very, very tough finds. I think part of the reason they're so hard to find is most people don't look at the backs of the cards. You know, they don't sort their cards that much by looking at the back, and so they don't catch that the back has been miscut and the front hasn't. It's pretty hard to find those. Now, again, I know that for most of you, this is just a very weird thing that I'm showing you, and you know, it's if you're still sticking with this episode, I certainly appreciate it. You let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to know what you think of these and what your experience has been. And of course, one of the reasons that I have to admit, one of the reasons that I'm doing this is that I hope that some of you will maybe have some really bad miscuts that you just have come across over the years, and you know, you thought, oh, this is kind of an oddball card, I'll hang on to this or whatever. If you want to trade them to me, I will trade any kind of cards you want. If you want to trade me your miscuts, let me know what teams or what players you like, and I'll send some your way in exchange. These are not, as I said, these are not particularly valuable cards. Even the Hall of Famer versions of them are significantly cheaper than the normal, centered versions. Not going to get a ton of money from these if I ever tried to sell them. Not that I would. That's not why I collected them. And now that my son likes them so much, I'm certainly not looking to get rid of them or anything. I saved the best for last. I'm going to show you 2 cards now before I finish this episode. These are the weirdest cards that you will ever see. They will alter your reality for a moment, so be ready. I'm going to put one on the screen right now. This is a very strange card. It is a Lou Clinton card, as you can see. That is called a color shift card, and what happens is in the printing process, the various RGB type of color printing that they use gets misaligned, so you get this very weird, distorted, strange thing going on. Now the back of that's perfectly fine, but the front has that color shift. These are pretty rare cards, and these actually, sometimes people try to sell these for a lot of money. Here's a nice one. This is Jim Bunning from 1962. Just bizarre looking card there. It looks almost like he's ghostly or something, where he's, I don't know, been exposed to radiation. I don't know. It's a strange card there. But those are called color shift cards. I don't have very many of those, and those are quite a bit harder to find than miscuts, and people do try to sell those for a lot of money. I've never really seen anybody sell them for like big money or whatever, but because those are legitimately quite rare, and also, much like every card that I showed you today, one of ones. You won't see duplicates of these anywhere because they were mistakes, and Topps tried to weed them out, and people who opened them in packs would weed them out too, just by tossing them in the garbage or tearing them in half or whatever. And so the fact that so many vintage cards of this type have survived, I'm not the only guy who collects these. I know other people do too, but it's pretty awesome, and I love these, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode and enjoyed seeing these. This went on for a long time, and I appreciate you sticking with me for this long if you did. I'll be back tomorrow with some cards that will be more centered for you on Dorking with Dice. We'll have some vintage football and baseball packs in the box, and we'll open up a bunch of them. I'll see you back here then. As always, happy collecting.